It's no secret on the channel that my favorite goalkeeper since I've started watching football has been Manuel Neuer, and I think the main reason has been he's uh, an aerial wizard. The man is such an athlete, and he's really good in the air. He's also really good with the ball at his feet as a dribbler, as a sweeper keeper, and so he's been my favorite. But I am reacting today to a player who is probably considered the best goalkeeper. I mean, you've got a list of Neuer, Gianluigi Buffon, Iker Casillas that I'm thinking of so far. You could probably say, there's an Allison in there, but I think probably the consensus is Petr Cech. I hope that's how you say his name. That's how they were saying it in the video on the broadcast, but English broadcasters, sometimes they have a particular way of pronouncing things. All right, now let's react to this. This is the goalkeeper who survived football's worst injury. Let's get into this.
If you were asked who the greatest Premier League goalkeeper of all time was, no matter what team you support, it's almost impossible to have this conversation without mentioning the name Petr Cech. Even Gianluigi Buffon has named Cech as the best goalkeeper of his era, saying the best goalkeeper with his feet was Pepe Reina. In the air, it's Manuel Neuer, and with his hands, it's Iker Casillas. But overall, I'd say it's Petr Cech. And looking at the insane amount of records,
It seems like the goalkeepers like that he's mentioning, they have certain characteristics that they're better at, but Petr Cech, he just seemed to be all around technically sound. Interesting.
achievements speaks volumes to the goalkeeping greatness of Petr Cech. But what if I told you, as great as he was, he could have been even greater if it wasn't for a traumatizing injury he received at the height of his prime.
Oh. Can that even be shown on YouTube? Oh, I felt that in my neck.
I kid you not, almost nearly ended his life, which forced him to completely change the way he plays. But even despite that, he was just so naturally good at goalkeeping that he would go on to continue doing so for another professional sport.
He played
outside
hockey?
of football.
This man played hockey as well? I need to react to some hockey. I don't even know anything about the sport. Other than that they play three periods instead of 4 quarters or 2 halves. They play 3 periods. I know that there's a rule such as called icing, which I think is kind of like offside. I don't understand. I know that substitutions look absolutely wild because people can just jump on the ice whenever they want.
So sit back as we look through the career of Petr Cech, because I just might very well convince you that he is beyond a doubt the greatest Premier League goalkeeper in history, and certainly belongs up there as one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time. Unlike most of the all-time great goalkeepers, Petr Cech never started off in front of goal. In fact, when he was younger, what Petr Cech loved most about football was the idea of scoring goals. However, since a young age, Petr Cech would already have bad luck when it came to injuries, because at the incredibly early age of 10, Petr Cech would break his leg in training, an event that traumatized the youngster so much that on that moment, he would give up on scoring goals completely. Then decided to play a much less physical and a much safer position, defending the goal as a goalkeeper. But Petr Cech, despite the early trauma and fear of injury, had incredible reflexes and agility, even as one of the bigger kids on the squad. And instead of seeing another Zlatan-sized striker in the making at 6'5" or 1.96 meters tall, he would use his athleticism, size, and agility to quickly turn into a goalkeeping prodigy. Then when he turned 18 years old, he would immediately transition into first-team play in the Czech First League, eventually catching the interest of the country's biggest and most historic club, Sparta Prague. And in just his very first season with them, he would go on to break the Czech First League record for the longest time without conceding a goal. An incredible 903 minutes that the 19-year-old Petr Cech would go before he let any ball get past him, which is about 10 entire matches in a row.
That's kind of crazy because he seems to keep that trajectory even in the Premier League. In the highlight video I reacted to over on Patreon, by the way, the reason I do that, guys, is not because I'm trying to keep good content from you. It's just because they get blocked here, and it's such a there's so much time and effort that goes into trying to edit around it, and then people don't like the edits because they're too funky. So it's only $1 a month, and I react to the without any kind of edits on it. But one thing they brought out in that video was that he had the most clean sheets, and there was like one season where he had like only allowed 15 goals against him for an entire season, which I know it's not necessarily the keeper gets all of the press and all of the credit for clean sheets, but I know that you could be the best keeper in the world, and if the defenders playing in front of you are trash, they're going to still get goals by you, because it takes a team effort to keep a team from scoring goals. But it is an absolutely insane idea if even back here he's going 10 entire matches in a row without conceding a goal, and then you translate that to the Premier League where he goes a season where he only concedes 15 an entire season. There was one season he had 24 clean sheets in the season. That's insane. 24 games out of one full Premier League season, he didn't concede a goal. That is insanity.
Bro, maintaining a clean sheet as a teenager. At such an insanely young age, Cech was already getting recognized as a goalkeeping prodigy. A goalkeeper in his teens with that much promise had not been seen in a long time. In fact, before he could even play 2 full seasons with Sparta Prague, Petr Cech attracted so much interest from other clubs that he almost joined Arsenal in 2002. Wow. But because of FA rules and regulations, obtaining a work permit was incredibly difficult at the time. And so instead of moving to England a few years earlier than he originally would, Cech would be off to Ligue 1 to play for Rennes. But even then, his time in France was incredibly short, as Cech would only continue to get more and more popular, like how in his very first match for Rennes against PSG, he would win the man.
Dude, some of these highlights are even better than his. I only reacted to his EPL highlights. Man.
The match award, and thanks to his incredible goalkeeping efforts, just barely managed to help the historically mid team avoid relegation. Now, at 21 years old, Cech was already one of the most sought-after goalkeepers in the world, and Jose Mourinho, who had just been appointed as manager of Chelsea, had his sights on no other keeper than Petr Cech. And Mourinho was so confident in Cech, he was willing to spend what was at the time the most money the club had ever spent on a keeper just to sign him from Rennes for about 7 million euros. And the moment that Cech stepped on the pitch for Chelsea, he would go on to continuously make history. Week after week, Cech would put on incredible goalkeeping displays, even managing to keep a clean sheet in his very first appearance against a fierce Man United squad. Then later going on to set a new Premier League record for the most minutes without conceding a goal, an insane 1,025 minutes, eventually helping Chelsea win the 2004-05 league title and a League Cup with his incredible goalkeeping. Being named the IFFHS World's Best Goalkeeper, the 2005 Best European Goalkeeper, the UEFA Club Best Goalkeeper, being named in the UEFA Team of the Year.
Man, these highlights are significantly better than the ones that the EPL put out.
And being handed the Premier League Golden Glove. Then to top it all off, set a Premier League record that hasn't been broken till this very day, with the most clean sheets in a single season.
24.
With 24. Yeah. An absolutely insane amount of accolades in just his very first season in the Premier League. Cech was starting to gain global respect and recognition, and he was indeed one of the most must-watch goalkeepers in the world that you just had to see for yourself, because missing out on watching him would mean missing out on all the talk. And you need to make sure that you aren't one of those people who miss out on some must-see events. That's why today's sponsor, SeatGeek, has...
Yeah, I like you. I like you getting that bag, but hey, we're not going to have SeatGeek sponsor my video. No. They're not my sponsor. So we'll move on to my video sponsor. Hey there, let me show you something cool that I'm doing over on Patreon. Here on Patreon, on the $5 tier, I am reacting to videos that I can't upload here on YouTube. Look, Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0, the game highlights, the game footage. This would get blocked in a second on YouTube. I'm also, the Hand of God game, Diego Maradona and the goal of the century. I just put this one up on Patreon for the $5 tier memberships. For the $1 US dollar a month, you get to see the game highlights of Paul Pogba and all the other players that I've been reacting to, along with any kind of video that gets blocked on YouTube. Look at the dramatic final between Bayern Munich and Manchester United. What an epic game. And I'm doing classic games as well as following through all the World Cups, $5 a month. I'd love to see you over there. I'm having a blast uploading these things, and it really helps me help support the channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Now back to your video. All right, we're back.
Shield and were crowned back-to-back Premier League champions, with Petr Cech only conceding 22 goals throughout the entire season, while also winning his first of nearly a dozen Czech Footballer of the Year awards in his career. Cech really was your perfectly rounded goalkeeper. His athleticism, agility, acrobatics, and quick reaction on top of that large frame made him a monster at shot stopping and just having unbelievably insane reflexes. Penalty saving especially. Cech was one of the best keepers to ever do it, and in those years...
Yeah, there was a clip. There was a clip in that video, or the highlight video I reacted to, where he does this move that I feel like I have seen other keepers do this, but not to the extent that he did, where player is winding up for his penalty, and Cech goes one direction, and the moment that he goes this direction, the penalty taker realizes smartly, oh, he's diving that way, and he shoots the other direction. Dude, he fell for it immediately because he dove right back and saved the. And I've seen players do things like that. I know it's mind games, but watching him do it to save that penalty was like, I've never seen someone do it that effectively. It was really, really effective because it just looked clear and obvious. Okay, he's diving, going that direction, and he commits to it so, like, he gives so much commitment to that one direction that it looks like he really is diving that way. He looks like he's off balance, looks like he's off kilter. So it makes sense to take the penalty the other direction, not realizing you're falling into his trap. He wants you to go that way. Crazy.
Cech would regularly come out of his line aggressively and deal with crosses, one-on-ones, and sweeping the ball if the opposition had beaten the offside trap. But just like when he was a kid, he would suffer another traumatic experience that forced him to change his style of play completely. After going through a minor shoulder injury just a few months before the start of the season, during a match against Reading on October 14th, 2006, Petr Cech would dive for the ball and collide directly with Reading player Stephen Hunt. At first, it didn't look that serious and nobody thought much of it, until they realized Petr Cech was incredibly concussed and almost unable to move, needing to be stretched out and rushed to the nearest hospital for emergency surgery, because the impact with Stephen Hunt was actually so hard.
They say it doesn't look bad. You watch the replay, it looks bad. The way his head snaps back, trust me, coming from an American football, as an American football player, this sport that I played growing up, there was so much head trauma involved in it because if you're not trained properly, you just use your head as a weapon. And it's happening a lot of times. That's immediately when I saw his head do that, I was like, that's a concussion. That's an immediate, like, nothing else. That's a concussion. I hit a player once when I was playing American football. I hit a player so hard with my helmet, which I shouldn't have done. When I got back up, my ears were ringing, and I walked back to the sidelines. I was telling coach, like, I can't hear. There's just ringing in my ears, and yeah, concussions constantly just. So anyway, all I'm saying is, as soon as I saw that snapback of the head, I knew immediately that's a concussion.
Caused a literal depression in his skull, with doctors claiming if he was hit any harder, perhaps with Stephen Hunt's knee instead of his shin, Petr Cech would have nearly died. And for the doubtful, X-ray images show just how deep of a fracture his skull received from that hit. And even looking back at it, Petr Cech quite literally cannot remember what happened during the injury itself, as the brain trauma was just incredibly hard, causing slight memory loss and incredibly unbearable headaches for weeks to come. Cech would need several months to recover, and without their incredible goalkeeper, Chelsea would fall second in league standings and fail to achieve the Premier League three-peat. And since the injury, Petr Cech would be so traumatized that ever since he would recover, he would continue to play every match of his career wearing that iconic protective headgear. And like I said, that injury forced Cech to be much less aggressive as a goalkeeper, turning him from a proactive one to a reactive one. And he had to make up for that loss of explosiveness that gave him those record-setting numbers by instead opting to improve his positioning and timing. But incredibly enough, in 2007, after the injury, Cech would go on to keep a clean sheet for an incredible 810 minutes of play, earning him the Premier League Player of the Month award and making him the first goalkeeper to win the award in nearly a decade, helping his team win the FA Cup while also becoming the fastest goalkeeper in Premier League history to ever reach 50 clean sheets. But unfortunately, throughout the next few seasons, Petr Cech would suffer a string of minor to mid injuries from his calves to his hips and even his ankle, leading up to 2008 where luck would once again be against him, as he would undergo chin surgery due to an incident at training, in which he was hit in his jaw, causing him to have 50 stitches around his chin. But despite the less than great form, Cech would return and help Chelsea make it all the way to the 2008 Champions League final. But unfortunately, they would lose 5-6 in a penalty shootout after John Terry would infamously miss the final shot. Just an incredibly unlucky season overall, not only for his personal injuries, but also for club success, as they would finish second in the league, League Cup, Community Shield, and Champions League. But despite missing out on quite a few matches, Petr Cech would only concede 7 goals and kept 11 clean sheets in 17 matches. And it wouldn't be until the 2009-10 season that Cech and Chelsea would achieve Premier League glory once more. In the Community Shield final against Man United, Cech would save 2 penalties, while also becoming the fastest goalkeeper to ever reach 100 clean sheets, winning his 3rd Premier League title along the way. And in the FA Cup final, he would save a penalty from Kevin Prince Boateng to secure the domestic double and to win his 2nd Premier League Golden Glove award. Then in the 2011-2012 season, although Chelsea would go off to a poor start in the league due to Cech being out for a couple of months because of another knee injury, he and Chelsea would finally have their moment of revenge in the Champions League, because Petr Cech would pull off one of the greatest Champions League final goalkeeping performances of all time, when he would save a penalty in extra time against an elite player like Arjen Robben, then would save 2 more in the penalty shootout to beat Bayern Munich 4-3 and finally lift the trophy. And Courtois had an insane goalkeeping performance in the 2022 Champions League final, but I still think that Cech's performance was even more brilliant. Then in the very following season, Chelsea would make it all the way to the Europa League final against Benfica and lift the trophy as champions. And this would also be the year that Cech won his 7th Czech Player of the Year award, which I stopped mentioning because the man just won the award so many times, honestly. And by the 2013-14 season, Petr Cech would be the 4th goalkeeper in history to make 100 Champions League appearances behind Oliver Kahn, Iker Casillas, and Victor Valdez. Also putting on another monstrous performance in the Premier League, keeping 16 clean sheets and winning his 3rd Premier League Golden Glove. However, by the 2014-15 season, Courtois would slowly start to take Petr Cech's starting spot on the squad, as he would suffer another string of shoulder, back, and knee injuries. However, as Courtois would get injured as well, Cech would be able to play in the League Cup final, where he kept a clean sheet and helped Chelsea lift the trophy. This would also be the last time he would win the Premier League title, making it his 4th and final with the club. But ultimately, Cech just wasn't happy on the bench, so thus he would bid farewell to Chelsea after this final successful season and make his way over to Arsenal. And now, of course, this was seen as absolutely treasonous by some Chelsea fans, some of who even sent him death threats at the time. Even more so, as he would help Arsenal beat Chelsea for the 2015 Community Shield title while maintaining a clean sheet as well, eventually becoming the first goalkeeper in Premier League history to reach 200 clean sheets.
That's ridiculous.
And despite Arsenal's weaker defense that would ultimately lead them to finish 2nd place in the league, everybody knew Cech was keeping them in the race with his absolutely brilliant goalkeeping, as he would win his 4th Premier League Golden Glove, making it the most in Premier League history, while also being the only Premier League goalkeeper to ever win the award with 2 different clubs. Just mind-blowing, honestly. And while Cech would never manage to win another Premier League title, he would help Arsenal win an additional Community Shield and FA Cup trophy before finally retiring from football. But his goalkeeping journey wouldn't end there. Like I said, the man was so good at goalkeeping that at 38 years old, he would continue to defend the goal, not in football, but move over to play professional hockey as a goaltender. And at least now he has a lot more protective gear on him, which would definitely help with all the injury trauma he's received throughout his career. And in the making
but there's there's some serious injuries in hockey. I remember I remember in high school watching a video of a goalkeeper bleeding out on the ice because he got his neck cut with an ice skate and just blood everywhere. I don't even know if he died. I think he might have actually survived it, but it was like one of those, no matter how much protective gear you have on, it's a dangerous idea to be fighting with them blades on your feet. Now, I think that having watched so far of this video, actually, I'm gonna save my thoughts for a little bit. Okay, let's keep going.
This video, Cech is now 41 years old and continues to play professional hockey. Throughout his incredible career, Cech has won 4 Premier League titles, 5 FA Cup titles, 4 Community Shields, 1 Europa League title, and 1 Champions League title, while also being named the Czech Player of the Year for an insane 9 times, winning the Premier League Golden Glove 4 times, winning UEFA's Best Goalkeeper Award 3 times, being named Europe's Best Goalkeeper 4 times, and holds a bunch of insane records that are honestly going to be incredibly hard to beat. He has the most Premier League clean sheets in history with 202, was the fastest to ever reach 50, 100, and 200 clean sheets, was the first keeper to go 1,000 minutes without conceding a goal, has the record for the most Premier League clean sheets in a single season with 24, was the only goalkeeper to win the Premier League Golden Glove with 2 different clubs, and just a bunch more records for Chelsea that are honestly just too much to name and are probably never going to be broken. Imagine just how much better or greater could he have been if he had never received those horrific injuries and could play like his absolute best throughout his career.
Wow.
This might sound...
All right, so my thoughts here after watching this video. Actually, after watching the video on Patreon, I was at the point where I was like, he was a good keeper, but Manuel Neuer is the best. These highlights were better than the highlights I reacted to over on Patreon. But you should still go over there for $1 a month. Sorry, I'm not selling it very well right now. These highlights were, and some of them are going to get blocked, guaranteed. He used a lot of footage in this video. With watching the highlights that were shown in this video, those are some unreal saves, like unbelievable saves. That's some great goalkeeping there. I really, really enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give it a like for me. It really helps a lot. It helps with the algorithm, helps them views tick upward. That's what we're hoping for. So go ahead and smash like on the video for me. Comment what you want me to know down below, what players you want me to check out next. And like I said, join my Patreon. There's a lot of cool stuff over there for you. See you guys in the next video.